Got it.
$37 boxes.
All righty. Peace and love. How's everybody doing today? Brother Benjamin, how you doing, bro?
I'm peaceful, bro. I'm peaceful, man. How you be, Brother Sean?
All is well. All is well. Peaceful greetings to everybody. I'm Brother Shiningly L, coming from northwest of Mexham, here with my bro.
Benjamin Bey. Peaceful greetings. Great to be
here. Yeah, and we are here for another episode of Intuition Mondays. Man, when I just going through and I'm like, man, who can we, pick out to do? And I don't know why that just stood out to me. It's like Michaelangelo. And I'm like, all right, you know what? We gonna run with it. And Brother Benjamin Mike is muted. Indeed, bro. I don't. Hasan, you hear me? Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you. I think Brother Benjamin just I guess his mic went out. Yeah, it looks like Milli Vanilli right now, bro. Just lip syncing is happening. So
I write on my bars.
Oh, now we hear you. What happened there?
That was like, bro, like it was something weird. Like my ear just started ringing. Like I got kind of like tinnitus for a second. I'm like,
Oh no, I know that it's raining out here or whatever, and I'm not sure, but I was just saying I'm writing my bars. Maybe that energy got it going. Maybe that needs to be heard about the Willy Vanilli.
Yeah.
A lip sync. I'm like, I don't lip sync, guys.
No, I just your lips was moving, but there was no sound coming out of it, though. All right, I yield.
Does it sound great now?
Yeah, you're great. You sound loud and clear, bro.
All right, cool. I was just gonna ask Brother Sean Williams about him picking Michaelangelo, and that dude, he dealt with like things that were Piscean, and the sun is in the Pisces sign. So right now we're kind of in the pocket of illusion. One way to portray an illusion or something with art, but not to give away anything. But when you hear Michelangelo, you hear like art. So I'm saying, he was in time Piscean age, and we're like in the Piscean season right now. So Brother Sean is like right in line of picking something like Michelangelo.
Indeed, yeah, bro. Like, for sure. And hitting knees actually. Yeah, keep going, Brother Benjamin. So the weirdest thing just happened over here on my side with the StreamYard and all that, but right, yeah, bro, I'm gonna get that set back up. But yeah, I still got the chart shown. But yeah, so when I was going for, like I said, I just like looking for like a Piscean energy, and that just really it really just stood out to me, bro. And I'm like, well, you know what, I'm gonna run with it. And I just did it all and started kind of like going through the chart, doing my studies, just taking, what notes I wanted to. And it was pretty exciting for me. Yeah, also what we're gonna go over today is Brother Benjamin's gonna be covering a few of the 7 Hill Star protocol, and I'll be covering 2 of those as well. Let's see, I'll be doing sect and Zodiacal releasing, and Brother Benjamin, we just let the people know what you're gonna do with it. Gonna do with it. Whoops. Now, so let me do that. What is going on? Yeah, he's going Milli Vanilli again.
Well, in the spirit of building it while we're flying it, obviously, you know, we can just, I guess, keep it consistent.
Yeah, maybe. I thought we had it all figured out beforehand when we
because StreamYard is usually best when it's, I think, an Ethernet cord connection
to the Wi-Fi. Yeah.
Yeah, instead of Wi-Fi. Yeah, StreamYard is supposed to be much better with even though Wi-Fi can be utilized. But you know, that's
I think we'll just maybe try to test out the StreamYard another time then, since it is
How did you do it last time, even though people weren't able to see you and Brother Benjamin? You were still able to get some form of recording in some way, shape, or form, though, correct?
Yeah, it had let's see, it recorded it, but it just had me and I think like kind of like the background, maybe talking with nothing. So yeah, Brother Benjamin has to unmute his Zoom mic now so we can hear him. What's on, bro?
You might have to disconnect your headphones now. Yeah, you might have to disconnect those because he's stopped the StreamYard completely. I mean, there's always posting to the Twitter though. Also, just take whatever. But we'll figure that out. We'll just have to do a session on our own and do a production run just to see.
All right, I disconnected it, bro. I'm back on the actual service here. Is it solid?
Yeah, you just got to turn it up, I guess now. Make sure your volume is up on your iPad, I guess, so we can hear you right away.
Check my check.
Yeah, it doesn't sound too bad to me. I guess.
I mean, I project my voice though. I'll speak with some step up behind it.
It's fine. All righty.
That's fine. All right. Well, technical difficulties. Y'all see the screen? Y'all see the chart?
Yes.
Oh yeah. It's this is draconic, right? No, this is not.
This should be
tropical placidus.
Oh wow.
Right. Well, now we rolling. All right, bro. Let's see. I think I'll let you get it going with numerical. Get that Trinity going, and let's get it warmed up. Warm it up, Benjamin. Warm it up, Benjamin. You know what I'm saying, instead of warming up Cain.
Wow. All right, the Trinity testimony would be your sun, moon, and the light. Your bricks on the outside of your house, and then your lights would be also your sun. How you're gonna see, and then how you're gonna actually put the tangible things in the house, the moon. But that tangible real thing. So the Trinity testimony from Michaelangelo. He's a Sagittarius rising, 24 degrees, 29 minutes, and that ruling planet would be Jupiter. So some higher learning, intuitive things. So they break the chart like a little bit. Submit your affairs. But yeah, so let's say the archetype of Jupiter. So Jupiter would then the moon and the sun, and then the sun is in the third house. Looks like.
Indeed.
You scroll down a little bit, Brother Sean.
Scroll down some.
Yeah. There's cut off for the Pisces 44 minutes and 1 minute and 2 minutes there. Because I want to make sure that I believe you don't want to make sure I see it, whatever. There we go. Yeah, sun right there conjunct Mars. For sure.
Alrighty, so Michelangelo's son pertaining to his numerical code. So this would be the 7-year star numerical code. And we'll have the number 5, we'll have 12, we'll have 3, and they'll be according to the planet, the sign, and then the house. And those words to that code would be creativity, undoing institutions, and communication. Because 5, creativity, would be for the sun, 12 would be Pisces, the sun, and that deals with undoing the 12th house and institutions. And the house that sits in is the 3rd house, and that would be 3 of communication. So giving a testimony to that numerical code will be pertaining to the words from Michelangelo's son, which through his creativity and undoing in the institution can bring forth a divine way to communicate. That creativity, which wants to be seen in the media or books or some type of consumption that pertains to the heart, which is the sun. And the 3rd house is the communications media. They didn't have Twitter or the news these times because he was born in the 1400s, but they, I would say, horseback or maybe painting and things like that. So, he dealt with things like that. So what he thought in his mind, what he was inspired by, he made sure it was portrayed in some type of institution. So that institution is something that we'll get into later. When that unfolds, we'll see what type of institution that would be dealing with Pisces. And that would deal with like your mind, because you need your mind. That's a type of abstract institution, but we have physical institutions that we go into and learn and know how to like use and operate in these vessels. So we'll see where he got to learn, how to express his creativity through the 3rd house or the media or any type of way that people got things across to someone else. And this is the 1400s, so you can imagine what that could be. And we'll slide to his moon, which is in the 2nd house. And the words pertaining to his numerical code would be home, undoing, institution, and values. And those numbers would be 4 for the moon, 12 for Pisces, and undoing institutions. And the 2nd house would, we say number 2, would be, or like 2 and 7, because Venus rules values and it rules relationships. I didn't write that down, but that's like something, and I'm willing to be corrected, but if you're doing the numerical code, it'd be like 2-7. So I could really be like, 412 2/7. So that would be like home, undoing, institutions, values, and relationships are related. Because usually what you value, you relate to it, or you wouldn't value it. So I gotta really like something for me to even give it any type of energy. So with that being said, we'll add relations to his value. So giving the testimony pertaining to the code words from Michelangelo's moon, his home undoing instituted a core comfort for him when it came to how he valued, depending on how he valued in general. So his core was like, his home and things like that. Because, comfort is where the moon is in the chart. So where you're most comfortable, he's comfortable in like, tangible things, so that would be in a Piscean way, that would be, let's say, dreamy, things that are not, let's say, quote unquote, earthly, things that are dreamy, those are the tangible things that he valued. And with it being in the 2nd house, that could be, it could fluctuate just like your feelings in your mind. You could be happy one day and then the next few seconds, you could be, your world could be tumbling down. So that's very Piscean in itself, just underwater, just smothered in, what you love, that could be, a bad thing as well. That could be the down fluctuation of being buried in your values, things of that nature, as in water. So that type of institution of that nature. Moving along, moon being in the 2nd house, that was most likely some ups and downs when it came to his values or his finances. His home instituted values, intruded values brought him comfort, bringing the abstract values to the material world. So like I said, once again, like you're going to say abstract is Pisces with the 12th house. The 12th house is things that are mostly unseen and, the subconscious. So he brought, what, was off in the world of his world and brought it, to his actual, life world. And, he wanted to gain from that, the 2nd house value. So possibly from, the things that he brought from the abstract to the physical, maybe people didn't see the value in it, You know, people weren't probably on his type of quote unquote timeline in this time period. You know, he was probably ahead of his time. So he was probably so immersed in this that, you know, he could only see the value in it, and that could, you know, you could suffer. You could be the quote unquote starving artist almost, but you'd be rich in your art, you know, and you can just put your value in what you want. But I would yield to the Trinity as far as, oh no, I got this, the rising. I'll read the rising for Sagittarius, but as far as the sun and his moon, those are the delineations on that. But yeah, we'll read the rising Sagittarius for Michaelangelo, which is ruled by Jupiter, like you said earlier, the planet of higher learning and many foreign endeavors. Jupiter sits in the second house at 3 degrees, 35 minutes in Aquarius. Oh, the second house. Well, yeah, that's all right. Second house, using the 7 star numerical code, it would be 9, 11, and 2. Did you say something, Brother Sean?
No, I was agreeing with you, bro. Second house.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Using the 7 star numerical code for Jupiter being 9, 11, and 2, which is higher learning, networking / gains and values, giving testimony to his higher learning involved in his networking to gain in his values. So maybe he was trying to take this to a place of an institution and get some type of value for it. Maybe he could get on the street and, you know, do his thing there. Maybe he had to take his art to a place of where it would be accepted. And whether that be like, I would say like a museum, some type of church, you know, some type of place where, you know, his type of art will be expressed and will be valued. And he wants to gain from that. And anybody wants to be gained from something, wants a gain from something that they cherish and value. They want to think is worth, you know, not something that's out of this world, but something that's worth them putting the time into it. And you always want to honor that. And sometimes that's not the case. But that doesn't mean you give up on what you're doing, you know what I'm saying? So that's the optimism, you know, that could help him when his values fluctuated, you know, when it pertained to his finances. He was like, no, this is gonna work type deal. I'm sure he wasn't just saying that to himself, but his actions showed that he didn't, like, you know, give in to the quote unquote ups and downs of, you know, him trying to live off of, you know, his art, basically. So with the Sagittarius rising, how I deal with that. Unless Brother Sean has something.
Indeed, bro. Yeah, just this rising Sagittarius is going to be that fiery, you know, just creative fire nature. And then with it being ruled by Jupiter in a second, it's, you know, in his house of values, it's as long as you know, do it for, you know, a bigger cause than you, then everything should be expanding and go well. So whenever we do at some point, you know, check his autobiography or, you know, check different things, you know, I'm pretty sure that it'll all line up. And then I'll get started on my part. So I'm going to go into sect. So we have the sun right here below the horizon. So Michaelangelo has a nocturnal, or people say a nighttime chart. So the planets to look for would be Luna, the moon right here, and the second house that my brother just went in on. We'll also secondly look for Venus, which would be the most positive planet in the nocturnal sect. We have that right here. Next, we would look for Jupiter, as my brother once again just delineated on. And then we would look for Mars. We have Mars here in the third house. And then lastly, with Saturn being the quote unquote, you know, most malefic, we have Saturn there right here in the seventh house. So first, I'm just going to get started off with Venus here. So we have Venus at 24 degrees, 41 minutes. And he has this Venus in an angular house, which the angular houses are 1, 4, 7, and 10. So which is a good spot for that. But with Venus being in detriment, or she's not home, you know, that Venus naturally rules Taurus and Libra, and Aries is the 180 reflection of Libra. So, you know, it's kind of not really home here. You know, she's kind of not feeling real good there, but being in angular house, she feels, you know, strong. So when it comes to having his Venus and Aries being in the fourth house, the home and foundations, he probably could have seen his mother, you know, maybe had his mother or women. I just kind of be real bold, you know, and him preferably, he probably could have liked women that were just real kind of independent and fierce and just had that free spirit and nature when it comes to what he looks for and a mother with his Venus being in Aries. And then just to look at a couple of keywords for the Venus and Aries, we think of value, equality, self, and foundations. So when it comes to his values, he wants the free nature, independence. When it comes to equality, he wants equality in the home and for those that he really cares about. And when it comes to himself and how he loves, it's just a natural, go-getter energy. And, there's probably also a lot of challenges he maybe could have looked at or had to learn from with that Venus being in Aries in the fourth house. It's kind of, things probably sparked and maybe kind of fizzled out or fell out after some point, just with that Aryan Venus nature. And then foundations. So his foundations on love is going to be on whatever his self principles are, with that Venus being Aries and the fourth house. And then next, I'm going to move to the second planet in the nocturnal chart, which is Jupiter, which my brother had went over at 3 degrees Aquarius, 35 minutes in the second house. So when we look at Jupiter here and we think about mental exploration and self-undoing, with that Jupiter being in Aquarius in the second house, with Jupiter naturally ruling the 9 and 12 houses, and Jupiter being in an area Aquarius nature, he's going to definitely look within the mind and go and pull things out to expand on in the physical world, the sort of quote unquote so-called physical world. And by just looking within and checking his own activity, his actions, he can self-undo himself and always be looking to expand his values after he probably learned lessons for growth, because Jupiter also just deals with growth. So what lessons are going to be learned with that? And then when it comes to the future, people say he was definitely ahead of his time in his artwork at what he did, having that Jupiter Aquarius in the second house. So, his daily work routines and his habits were just always thinking about the future, to expand the future. And then next I will move. What's up, bro?
I was going to add you wisdom about his.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
He would sleep right next to his work and just get up and keep working on it. Yeah, and the degree of Jupiter would be if Mercury, a clever and penetrating mind, if conjunct Mercury, a clever and penetrating mind. And you can see like his Jupiter was coming to like almost, if it was going to conjunct Mercury.
Oh yeah, that's at a pretty past when Mercury moved away. Yeah.
But yeah, just to add to that, when he was like all in his work, like, he definitely went to sleep and got up and just went back to it.
Indeed. Yeah, it's all about his work. And then let's see, we'll go next. We'll go to his Mars here. So he has Mars at 18 degrees, 44 minutes, Pisces in the third house. So with Mars being, just in that third stage, next from, worst planet, he's got his Mars under the beams right there. Planets are said to be under the beams, if I'm correct, is when within 17 degrees of the sun. So with that Mars there in the third house, and then when we just look at, his self-transformation, the spirituality, and the mind, third house, the mind. So he was definitely driven to things that maybe he could only see that no one else thought. And, with Mars being at Pisces, it's, your action, ambition, and meets your loving wisdom. So that is definitely, when it comes to the mind and just his social activity and social interest, that's where his focus is those around him and just what he sees in his mind that he wants to bring, because Jupiter is going to want to expand all of that with his values. So when it comes to his mind and communications, he's expressing, loving wisdom, whether it be in the words of poems, he did painting, sculptures, all those different things are different forms of wisdom and just insight that he saw that he wanted to do. And then finally, we're going to get to Saturn, which is here at 16 degrees, 57 minutes, Cancer in the seventh house. So once again, we have another planet in an angular house, but Saturn is also what they would say to be detriment, as Saturn rules Capricorn, and Cancer is the 180 reflection of, of Cancer. So when looking at that, you know, we think about his long term, his home, and sharing. You know, because the new numeric code for Saturn I would use would be 10, 4, and 7. 10 being long term, 4 being home, and 7 being sharing. And when it comes to that in Cancer, his foundation, he's definitely had to learn. He probably learned the most lessons or the most wisdom through his any relationships that he had, any contracts that he made that he went to go do, as Cancer rules home as well. So when you're looking at the fourth house, he's got the Venus there as well. So it's a fiery, how do I want to put this? You know, his love and values is fiery, and his lessons and restrictions are in that water. So it's going to be, whether it's mental or outside the physical, he's going to have lessons to learn. But it's always going to be to improve the home. And with Saturn, you know, saying being the most malefic, you know, it's also the weakest point in this chart. But what we have here, we have the Mars, which is the second most malefic planet, and Saturn there, being the weakest. They are trining. They are making a harmonious aspect. So when it comes to Mars and Saturn, you know, being in that trine aspect with the third and seventh house, I would say as long as he is honest, you know, as long as he was being honest and just dealing with love when it comes to his mind, and the restrictions being the relationships with Saturn in the seventh, things would have been easy, even though it was, those areas were extremely probably challenging in his life. And when we get to looking at his autobiography, I'm pretty sure we'll see maybe different life lessons, or, you know, maybe traveling or some restrictions here and there as what he had went through. And for that, I will yield and get back to you, Brother Benjamin, and let you get in on your next part, unless you have anything else that you would like to add on to the sect.
Saturn could be a restricted parent in the home, relating to a restricted parent in the home. You know, like, you know, home nurturer or any type of nurturer with those, and how you relate to that, because Venus is there. So see like what type of, you know, relationship that was. Some type of bravery, or you know, some type deal, because Venus is a pioneer, so it seems like lost love, you know, maybe there's one parent there or something. That made me thinking that when you were speaking. I was like, oh, okay, with the relationship with Saturn and the Sun. But me moving to who he is and what his purpose is through Neptune and Uranus. Yes, however you want to say that. But first we do Neptune. We'll find who Michaelangelo was from a heavenly perspective, or I could say from a Neptunian perspective. Because technically when I say, oh, my son's sign is this, or my son is this, you're saying it from a sun perspective. So this is how I'm going to be like from a Neptune perspective. You know, we'll find out who he is, or what his purpose is with Neptune. With Neptune being a higher octave of the guru Jupiter, Neptune sits in his 11th house in Scorpio, 22 degrees, 25 minutes retrograde. We can have a numerical code for this placement using the house and the sun, because Neptune technically doesn't have like a number, because it's really the outside planet. But Neptune deals with like psychic, you know, illusion, you know, delusion, you know, things like that. Let's say, you know, very, you know, destructive dreams, things of that nature. Just the whole like kind of like acid, you know, like Jupiter would be like, let's say like bud, you know, you get like a little, or cannabis, you get like your earth plane essence of vibration, and then there's acid or LSD, and it's like, okay, cool, this is a little advanced, but it's still in that, you know, area of things that are, you know, Piscean and that are, you know, very Neptunian. So we'll just say illusion. So we'll say illusion, and then we'll say 8 and 11. because it's in the 8th sign, which is Scorpio, transformation, death and transformation, and it's in the 11th house. And that is the house of gains, hopes and wishes, and friends and things of that nature. So I have here, so let's say, and spirituality. So we have spirituality and illusion for Neptune, and we'll have transformation and rebirth for 8 sun, and then we'll have hopes and wishes for 11, as far as the 7 started American code goes. Giving testimony pertaining to the placement of his Neptune, Michelangelo's purpose involved in taking illusions and transforming them from a dead state in the mind to a hopeful and wishful nature lens to whatever Michelangelo wanted to share to and with others. So like, I was speaking earlier about certain paintings had metaphysical meanings. Some people would see like that picture of the 2 men touching or whatever, what I'm saying, like that. Some people see it as 2 men touching and some see it as something totally different. So he's taking something that could be used to keep a dead state of mind, or he can, paint it and have like the essence of it, something that's transformative and death and transformative. Now you can use it like, hey, this is what this really means. This is what it really says. So the death and transformation of that art that you're articulating, and hope and wishing that you gain, someone else to see it the way you do, not controlling them, but just to help humanity, or so to speak, because his sun is in Pisces, and that's you want to think about humanity that way, because the 6th house approximately as a service, and the sun, it helps everybody, so you're gonna think about everybody, what I'm saying? So there's like this art and death and rebirth of his illusionary foreign work, that he hoped and wished that people would value, that creative type of, because that's Taurus on the other end of that. So he took his values and transformed them and resurrected them amongst the people, very Neptunian, very out of this world type deal. But that was his purpose, to take things that are abstract, transform them amongst the group so they can see, beyond the veil. And I'll yield on that, Brother Sean. And we'll slide to who he is from a Uranian perspective. Oh, there you go. Finding who Michelangelo is from a Uranian perspective. Excuse me. Uranus sits on the edge of the 10th. Am I saying that correct? Or the edge of the 11th?
I said 10.
All right, I'll write it down right. The edge of the 10th house in Libra scales, the awakener, Uranus, has a role of relationships, creating balance, justice in the world, giving testimony to the awakener. Uranus describes Michelangelo while in his career and public image. Michelangelo is electric in his intuition, using his talents for help of others. Having the innate sense and insight to what is true beauty. Venus, there's Libra scales, and Venus rules over Libra, so he sees the beauty in things, and he knows what the beauty looks like. That's why his art, portrays that. Bringing balance and harmony to any abstract that is given or assigned to him, any obstacle that is given or assigned to him to bring to fruition. So basically, what I'm saying, he was level-headed. What his job wasn't easy, what he was doing, so he had to have some type of patience, some type of step back and breathe. Because when you're dealing with I would say like sculptures and things like that, there's no going back. Once you chip that stone, that's it. So you got to make sure when you're doing that you're making the correct and precise movements. You're not doing it like this. You're chipping and you're stepping back, seeing if it's symmetrical, balancing it out. So the Uranus being there and just blowing it up. So insight to bring to fruition. A visionary who sees the future, and that the future involves around all of us instead of self-centered approach. Hashtag natural team player. So here Uranus being in Libra is basically, LeBron James, because he has all the attributes to be a selfish player, but he's a pass first guy, and that kind of makes everybody upset. So he's thinking about the whole collective. Of course, he can, put up 50, 40 whenever he wanted to, but he ready to get the team involved. So Michaelangelo, was saying he want to make sure that, he gets the lesser half of it all. He want to balance it out first and make sure that what he's doing is going to benefit more than just him. And that would be why his values or his, finances fluctuated. Because, he was always thinking of others. How can I help? How can I just put in what I can put in without taking more than I need? And, I would say that he is, is to bring that awakening balance for the whole collective. And that's what he did through his art, through his sculptures. He really does steady. And I'll yield on that. Hashtag Michaelangelo, natural team player. And I'll yield for the Sean.
Gee, yeah, and just with that Uranus and Scorpio on the 10th, it's just, long term, just bringing out the mysteries in all forms and sense, and just rebellion against anything that just doesn't seem right, in his own form or fashion, and then with Neptune being in the 11th, it's, social awareness, the humanitarian at Scorpio. Scorpio likes to dive into the deeper, things of the mystery and express that, and just, they know and feel that everything is deeper and more than just like the physical, what we call the physical. They just want to know all the mysteries to it. And, nothing, superficial, artificial, it's, got to be deep and meaningful. And what you saying, bro?
I was thinking correctly when I said you saw Uranus in Scorpio. When I looked at the other chart,
you good, bro.
So I'll just stand corrected on that. The reason he's talking about Scorpio, he's talking about Uranus and Libra.
But see, he's talking about the Scorpio, because right now I'm talking about his mindset. You was talking about his sidereal and his physical part that he was bringing. Because, if I want to come here and let's just edit it, flip it back to the, sidereal, yes, then, it goes to, the Libra for his Uranus. So he is going to want to find that balance in the physical. His mind and his mental, it's going to be, the mystery. So what mysteries he finds in his mind in the, the tropical part and the sidereal, the physical.
And that would be seeing the beauty right here, would be seeing the beauty to help the collective, pertaining to career. So that's why he was in certain institutions of, where he did his business at. And not to get into, I think we're going to go over his biography, but we're going to see, the places that we're speaking about. It's kind of like a movie. Like, we don't want to tell what it is. But this is like the previews. Zodiac is like the previews of,
Yeah, definitely. Because I just felt that it was good to go through it. Because like I said, I kind of like peeked through it, but I really didn't look. It was straight,
I try not to it's like cheating almost. It's like, okay, cool. I want to like get a gist, but not be like totally blank about who it is. But I don't want to kind of see certain things. I want to be surprised, like, okay, cool, boom, that type of deal. But I yield, bro. Thanks for showing that, by the way.
Because I knew where you were referencing to, and just to back my bro up, just I know what you were referencing to. I peeped it, and when we kind of go through, just briefly over some Zodiacal releasing, and then go just to check his autobiography and read through that, see what did he do when he then we'll see how things laid out, and how he became who he was and how he did his purpose. So now I'm getting into Zodiacal release, and so right here we've got his part of spirit, which deals with the sun or the career at 3 degrees 13 minutes Sagittarius in the 11th. So just thinking for that, when his career is going to be dealing with foreign travel, foreign knowledge, and also teaching, but being a student in a way, because that's what Jupiter is. It's the guru, the teacher, but also the student. So his career could be being a student and a teacher, and traveling wherever he needs to go to expand, whether he's doing poetry or expanding on his art. So whatever creative fire he has, that's going to come feel through his career. And so let's see, so at least the people can see, let's pull this sheet up real quick to show the dates, because I got them all written. But do you see that, Brother Benjamin? Does it show this Zodiacal releasing?
No, I don't. I just still see the chart wheel.
Interessante. So I'm about to share my whole screen.
Chart wheel. Yeah, on YouTube, they still see the chart wheel as well.
Yeah, so I'm about to go. You probably see it now, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. So I'm about to share my screen, but just I'll get back to the regular chart. But so just some one of the quick things to note was for Zodiacal releasing January 2nd, 1487, he goes into a peak period. And the peak periods come when the planets are in the cardinal sign. So with the being at Capricorn, he goes into about a 27.5 year peak period on this first level. So with major changes in his foundation being looked at. So we're definitely going to get more into it, but that is just a major point with
Stay
that.
on your point. Let me add you wisdom. Stay on your point. There's a Zodiacal releasing peak periods happen. Let's say what are you releasing for now right here?
Well, I was going up reference. He was on the level 1.
So spirit. This is for spirit?
Yes, for his career. Yes.
All right. So anytime on which would appear to be angular or the cardinal cross speaking, however, yes, there's a Zodiacal release, and for part of spirit would be whenever the part of you releasing for part of spirit. So his part of fortune is where?
His part of fortune.
What sign is part of fortune in?
It is in Capricorn.
So, of course, the peak periods, and you're right, because Capricorn is a cardinal sign, but the peak period would happen for cardinal signs. However, I want to make sure that we're communicating, because you're not wrong, Brother Sean, at all. I'm just making sure that people know that what Brother Sean is fully saying, not just that it happens on cardinal signs all the time. It's just for this particular chart from Michaelangelo, it's going to happen within the cardinal signs for when releasing for spirit. However, wherever fortune is, the peak periods are 90 degrees or 180 degrees in aspect to the part of fortune when releasing for part of spirit. That's what I just wanted to say in completing the thought. But however, other than that, brother, you're doing excellent. And I yield the floor. Islam.
Indeed, gratitude for the added wisdom for those, for the people out there. So yeah, for that first, not his first, but those 27.5 years. So from January 2nd, 1487, the Gregorian calendar, till about August 12th, 1513, he's in a major peak period. And when you think about, Capricorn, you think about foundations and long-term goals. So building that structure during that whole period will allow for the long-term career.
He had to be pretty strong guy to have to be dealing with sculptures too. You know what I'm saying? Think about it. What his forms look like. Maybe that's the Mars and Pisces. You know what I'm saying? Because Mars is like, it's not still, is it? There's something pokey, a tool next to his sun. So that could be a thing. Man.
And then, and then after that peak period, it, becomes the cool down. So from August 13th, 1513 until March 9th, 1543, he'll go on that kind of cool down period where he's still riding the wave of what he built during the peak period. And so then from March 9th, 1543 until January 5th, 1555, he's in now a pre-build up period until the peak period. It's like, you're popping your popcorn right now, but the movie about to get started, so it's like, all right, well, let me just get this popcorn ready because I know things are about to get taken off. And then from January 5th, 1555 until, I seen that he transitioned at when he was 88. So he was in that peak period for about, roughly about 8-9 years in that last peak period. And with that being an Aries, he could have definitely seen an influx of just how he built things for himself over that time with that lot of spirit. So get off there. I'm gonna hit that share, and then let's see. Let's go to Google. Did you have anything else you wanted to add, Brother Benjamin?
Oh no, I was just curious to see how it lines up with the biography, especially with the sun and the Mars. You know, because I would definitely see like ego. You know, then like third house is Gemini, like the hands. When you think about it, so he usually gets hands and doing that for like the media or however, for it to be on the media for which is like people come visit and they see a sculpture and they see who did it, and then they'll go off and be like, oh, I saw that, so then maybe take a picture. So that's maybe how like words and things went out. But it's in the third house, you know, using a tool inside of an institution.
Yeah. So let's see. All right. Screen up. Make sure I'm good on my end.
Yeah.
All right, and then and then just some other like. So then he and just some different peak periods on a level 2 level. You know, from October 30 through 1481 through January 22nd. So I've got a couple dates here we're going to go through, and we're just gonna look and see what years and periods. But we know that from that 1487 to 1513 was that major peak period on Capricorn. So let's see what his structure was and how he built, you know, just what structure and goals he had. So I'm just gonna start. Let's see. Actually, I'll just start off right here. All right, so Michaelangelo di Lodovico Buonarroti Simoni, March 6, 1475 to the 18th of February, 1564, known simply as Michaelangelo, was an Italian sculptor, painter, architect, and poet of the High Renaissance. Born in the Republic of Florence, his work had a major influence on the development of Western art, particularly in relation to the Renaissance notions of humanism and naturalism. He is often considered a contender for the title of the archetypal Renaissance man, along with his rival and elder contemporary Leonardo da Vinci. Given the sheer volume of surviving correspondence, sketches, and reminiscences, Michelangelo is one of the best documented artists of the 16th century, and several scholars have described Michelangelo as the most accomplished artist of his era. So let me actually go down. Let's see what the works are. We can get
Leonardo right. Tupac Biggie.
You said Michelangelo da Vinci was a Tupac and Biggie.
Yeah. I got love for the Renaissance. I got love for the Renaissance. Just imagine
how they dealt with like things back in the day. Like
right.
They wrote each other like, "Yo, that brother dissed me in his book."
He probably chiseled something on his sculpture.
Go wipe something on his painting. Yeah, try me again, sucker.
Hashtag Leonardo.
Calm that down. All right, so let's get. All right, so I scroll down to work. So Madonna and the Child. The Madonna of the Steps is Michelangelo's earliest known work in marble. It is carved in shallow relief, a technique often employed by the master sculptor. Actually, oh, my bad. Actually, no, hold on. Let's not get into the work. I'm looking for more. Excuse me back. I mean, I'm looking for like an early life. Let's see. Here's from.
It could be right up under, kind of where we started a little bit. I think they'll slide into it. So that's like pretty much all the stuff he did. Looks like.
There we go. Matter of fact, boom.
1492.
Interesting, right?
1488 to 1492. Wow. Otra vez. Oh, here we go, right here, bro.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah. All right. So early life, 1475 to 1488. Michelangelo was born on March 6, 1475, Gregorian calendar in Caprice, known today as Caprice Michelangelo, a small town situated in Valterberina, near Arezzo, Tuscany. For several generations, his family had been small-scale bankers in Florence, but the bank failed and his father, Ludovici Dionato Buonarroti Simoni, briefly took a government post in Cabrice, where Michaelangelo was born. At the time pertaining to Michelangelo's manifestation, his father was the town's judicial administrator in Podesta, or local administrator of Chuisi della Verna. Michelangelo's mother was Francesca di Neri del Miniato di Siena. The Buonarrotis claimed to descend from the Countess Matilde of Canossa, and claimed that remains unproven, but which Michelangelo believed. Several months after Michelangelo's birth, the family returned to Florence, where he was raised. During his mother's later prolonged illness, and after her death in 1481, when he was 6 years old, Michelangelo lived with a nanny and her husband, a stonecutter, in the town of Sedigano, where his father owned a marble quarry and a small farm. There he gained his love for marble. As Giorgio Vasari quotes him, "If there is some good in me, it is because I was born in the subtle atmosphere of your country of Arezzo. Along with the milk of my nurse, I received the knack of handling chisel and hammer, with which I make figures." All right, so we got apprenticeships, 1488 to 1492.
I'll read that if you want to go to that. If you want to read that, so you have to read all that.
So I'll get this one, and we'll let you get next one. Yeah, we may be going into the works, and then some more dates. So let's see, we got 1488 to 1492. So we know that he was born in a build up to the peak period. So 1492 is when that peak period hits. So what date was that? Actually, no, wait.
1487?
No, it was January 2nd, 1487. That's when that peak period starts. So once again, we think that it started a year before that, yeah, and went. So apprenticeship. As a young boy, Michelangelo was in the peak period and didn't know it, or did he, when he was sent to Florence to study grammar under the humanist Francesco da Urbino. However, he showed no interest in his schooling, preferring to copy paintings from churches and seek the company of other painters. The city of Florence was at that time Italy's greatest center of the arts and learning. Art was sponsored by the Signora, or the town council, the merchant guilds, and wealthy patrons such as the Medici and their banking associates. The Renaissance, a renewal of classical scholarship in the arts, had its first flowering in Florence. In the early 15th century, the architect Filippo Brunelleschi, having studied the remains of classical buildings in Rome, had created two churches, San Lorenzo's and Santo Spirito, which embodied the classical precepts. The sculptor Lorenzo Ghiberti had labored for 50 years to create the bronze doors of the baptistry, which Michelangelo was to describe as, quote unquote, the gates of paradise. The exterior niches of the church of Oran Michel contained a gallery of works by the most acclaimed sculptors of Florence, Donatello, Ghiberti, Andrea del Verrocchio, and Nani da Banco. The interiors of the older churches were covered with frescoes, mostly in late medieval, also in the early Renaissance style, begun by Giotto and continued by Masaccio and the Bronacci Chapel, both of whose works Michelangelo studied and copied in drawings. All right, let's see. So during what's up, bro?
I said baloney, but
baloney. Let's see. So, all right.
That's it right there.
Yeah, right there. So if we look, so all right, so we see that, early he traveled. So, if we got 1488 here. At age 13, he was apprentice to Ghirlandaio. The next year, his father persuaded Ghirlandaio to pay Michaelangelo as an artist, which was rare for someone of 14. When in 1489, Lorenzo de Medici, de facto ruler of Florence, as Ghirlandaio. De facto ruler of Florence asked Ghirlandaio for his two best pupils. Ghirlandaio sent Michaelangelo and Francesco Granacci. All right, so from 1490 to 1492, Michaelangelo attended the Platonic Academy, a humanist academy founded by the Medici. There, his work and outlook were influenced by many of the most prominent philosophers and writers of the day, including Marsilio Ficino. We got Pico della Mirandola and Poliziano. At this time, Michaelangelo sculpted the reliefs Madonna of the Steps, 1490 to 1492, and Battle of the Centaurs, 1491 to 1492. The latter, based on the themes suggested by Poliziano and commissioned by Lorenzo de Medici. Michelangelo worked for a time with the sculptor Bartolo di Giovanni. When he was 17, another pupil, Pietro Torrigiano, struck him on the nose, causing a disfigurement that is conspicuous in the portraits of Michelangelo. All right, so yeah, go ahead, bro. I would say before you get to that next part, just to recap real quick. So we see that he started his apprenticeship. Let's go, 1488, a year, roughly about after his peak period started. And
that's accurate, bro.
And, when you think of Saturn, you think of structure, we think the bones in the body. Why not also think of marble and other? And actually, it'd be interesting to see what kind of like minerals Saturn rules. If we was to go into like the, encyclopedia of astrology, just to see what Saturn rules, if it's like marble or, stone, and just see how that goes with its structure. And, we're thinking about with it being in Cancer. So he's in his mind structuring down, and fixing up the structure and structural and marble. But I yield, bro, and I'll let you get
to think about it. It's nurturing figures, and he did Madonna, and that's another woman, so that's mother. So he's structuring mother. He's like, building the relationship with mother and son through stone, and how that relates to the public or everyone else through third house. Because he was 14 doing this, or not 14, but basically a teenager doing this, which is insane.
Mm-hmm.
Think about now, because he was 13 and his father took him to an apprentice, and shout out to his dad for just doing that, just believing in his child. And just, that's kudos for that.
So when we think about that, Saturn and retrograde, so maybe instead, lessons the parent, it was clear that his parents gave him the opportunities to go pursue that.
Yeah, would it be the rewriting would be the retrograde? So he had to go back and rewrite or repaint and resculpture things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now I think about it, was that the Uranus retrograde? I want to think. With the Neptune and Uranus, that was retrograde in his chart.
Does that pull my screen right there? Do you see the chart?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So he had Uranus, Neptune, and Saturn in retrograde.
Yeah. So he kind of like transformation in death of transformation. The death of the old, quote unquote, what was, and then he restructured it. Brought it up to life.
All right, we back to the you see it, baloney.
Florence. All
right, I yield, bro.
All right. Lorenzo de Medici's death on 8 April 1492 brought a reversal of Michelangelo's circumstances. Michelangelo left the security of the Medici court and returned to his father's house. In the following months, he carved a polychrome wooden crucifix, 1493, as a gift to the prior of the Florentine Church of Santo Spirito, which had allowed him to do some anatomical studies of the corpses from the church's hospital. This was the first of several instances during his career that Michelangelo studied anatomy by dissecting categories. It's like dead bodies. CADRS. Between 1493 and 1494, he brought a block or marble, I see right here, that one, dissecting caveats, basically. Cadavers. There we go.
Cadaver.
Between 1493 and 1494, he brought a block of marble, and carved a larger than life statue of Hercules, which was sent to France and subsequently disappeared sometime in the 18th century. On 20th January 1494, after heavy snowfalls, Lorenzo's heir, Piero de Medici, commissioned a snow statue. That's wild. I guess the snow angel. And Michelangelo again entered the court of Medici. In the same year, the Medici were expelled from Florence as a result of the rise of the Savonarola. Michelangelo left the city before the end of political upheaval, moving to Venice and then to Bologna. In Bologna, it was commissioned to carve several of the last small figures for the completion of the shrine of Saint Dominique, and the church dedicated to that saint. At this time, Michelangelo studied the robust reliefs carved by Jacopo della Squaria around the main portal of Basilica of Saint Petronius, including the panel of the creation of Eve. The composition of which was to reappear on the Sistine Chapel ceiling. Towards the end of 1492, the political situation in Florence was calmer. The city, previously under the threat of the French, was no longer in danger of Charles the Eighth.
Charles VIII.
And suffered defeats. Michaelangelo returned to Florence, but received no commissions from the new city government under the
Savonarola.
He returned to the employment of the Medici during the half year he spent in Florence. He worked on two small statues, a small Saint John the Baptist and a sleeping Cupid. According to Gondivi, Lorenzo de Peri Francisco de Medici, for whom Michelangelo has for whom Michelangelo has sculpted Saint John the Baptist at the Michelangelo, fixed it so that it looked as if it had been buried, so he could send it to Rome, pass it off as an ancient work. Oh man, that's the fact that's up there. An ancient work. Sell it as much better. Wow, he's like selling the old Nikes for more. You mind struggling up a little bit, Brother Sean? I see the
Bro.
at the bottom. I appreciate that. Both Lorenzo and Michelangelo were unwittingly cheated out of the real value of the piece by a middleman. Oh, there we go. Cardinal Raphael Rio, to whom Lorenzo had sold it, discovered that it was a fraud, in fact, but was so impressed by the quality of the sculpture that he invited the artist to Rome. This apparent success in selling his sculpture abroad, as well as the conservative Florentine situation, may have encouraged Michelangelo to accept prelate's invitation. Michelangelo arrived in Rome on the 25th June, 1496, at the age of 21. On 4th July of the same year, 21 years old still, he began a work, an over life-size statue of the Roman wine god Bacchus. I'm saying that right, Bacchus. Upon completion, the work was rejected by the cardinal, and subsequently entered the collection of the banker Jacopo Galli for his garden. Talk about the second house there. In November 1497, the French ambassador to the Holy See, Cardinal Jean de Villeries Lagros, commissioned him to carve a Pieta, a sculpture showing the Virgin Mary. Pieta, is that it? Pieta, a sculpture showing the Virgin Mary grieving over the body of Jesus, the subject which is not part of the biblical narrative of the crucifixion, was common in religious sculpture of medieval Northern Europe and would have been very familiar to the cardinal. The contract was agreed upon in August, but the following year, Michelangelo was 24 at the time of its completion. It was soon to be regarded as one of the world's greatest masterpieces of sculpture, a revelation of all the potentialities and force of the art of the sculpture. Contemporary opinion was summarized by Vasari. It is certainly a miracle that a formless block of stone could never have been reduced to a perfection that nature is scarcely able to create in flesh. It is now located in St. Peter's Basilica.
Indeed. So, yeah. So if we look, not to cut your wisdom, bro.
Oh, go ahead.
Before we get to the next one. So, Pieta was done in 1498 to 1499. His work, David, was done in 1501 to 1504. The Sistine Chapel ceiling was done from the sources from 1508 to 1512. So those three pieces were all done during that peak period. And he started Moses in 1513, which depending on when exactly he started that, he'd be coming out of that peak period and to go to 1515.
May I add to y'all wisdom?
Aquarius?
Of course, bro.
What were you saying, Brother Benjamin? Finish your thought.
No, I was just asking, would that be the Aquarius when he was talking about the cool down period?
Yeah, it would be.
Talking about when we was looking at
the Zodiacal releasing.
Yeah,
I thought he was talking about the changing of the gods too, as far as the like peak periods and stuff with Uranus, Pluto. But
but I yield. That's what I was just asking. But I yield.
It'd be Aquarius and
all right, then I yield. Then y'all wasn't talking about what I was thinking about. My apologies. This is what I want to add to y'all wisdom though. Because Brother Benjamin's reading about the Medici family. Well, some people say the Medici family. Now you guys can go back to Kanye West's interview with Sway. And then you'll see what Kanye was really speaking about. Because Kanye knows the history. All righty. So in knowing the history, who's going to be the next Medici family? Who's going to be the next Medici family? That's going whatever, this, and that, and that. Because what he's saying is, who are the people that are putting their finances behind the liberal arts?
That's why Michaelangelo was going back to them when he didn't have any work. They would be putting out the finance for what his service was.
Yeah, instead of Suge Knight and Puffy, you had the Medici family because the artists back then were painting. So you got a deal depending on how good you are at painting and sculpting. People played instruments too, but just saying.
I was thinking about all the work he was doing at a young age. It reminded me of Tupac, because like the work he had did at his time frame It's like, man, he had no time to just do nothing but work. And starting at 13, he's done more than, I would say, more than children his age in that time period, I assume. Unless everybody was getting their sculpture on, I guess that was the thing to do, whatever. It was rapping now, it was getting your stone on or whatever that would, be.
He's admitting he's a stonemason at that point. He's like, yeah, I basically grew up with a hammer, chisel, plumb, and line in my, basically growing up. And yeah, here's my compass and square. This is the first one I was given when I was 4. Yeah, it was a whole different, I mean, where it's like now people like, yeah, my daughter's 4 years old with a tablet. It was no different back then when people they building, they cutting stone and doing all this stuff. So yeah, he growing up, where some people like, oh, he's growing up in a revolutionary time of technology and what they're doing in construction, where to him is just life. But now in history is written like this great geometrician who was able to use geometry in ways where he found the golden ratio when doing sculptures and all this other stuff. I have a golden ratio measurer right here. That's what this is. I made out of cereal boxes. You can find the golden ratio right here. You know what I mean? All I'm doing is finding phi, measuring phi. One part is a little longer than the other, like as far as the space in between it. You can make perfect beings or perfect cartoons with these dimensions, actually, no matter what the size. That's what this is. Golden ratio dividers. You know what I'm saying? I keep them on tap. I got about 2 or 3 of them that I made out of cereal boxes. All righty. And that's what they were using. However, I yield the floor. Islam.
I know. For that genius sprinkle right there.
He's just doing that eating too, guys. He's like, that's just like random. I don't know if they can see, bro, but he's saying all that. Like, he's more focused on the food than what he was actually saying.
I am a little. It's all good, yo. I yield.
But yeah, it just was like, the cosmos is lining up with how things manifest on Earth. Is basically what's being shown. What Brother Sean's showing the desire for releasing is like through his life and actions you can line up to the actual year. So if the last year was 1487 when it started, so it's not like quote unquote accurate, but it's like accurate, if that makes sense. It's pushing you in the right direction of what's going to happen without being like exactly 1488. It still transpired, so it's not just some like dart in the dark almost. The diabolation gives you a flashlight to upcoming events that happen cosmically first, and then they're reflected to Earth. And definitely, so you can see that clue there. But yeah, you'll understand.
Indeed, yeah, and his lot of spirit was at Sagittarius in the 11th house. So when it comes to the social awareness, he's traveling to foreign places where he got his apprenticeship in foreign places, and teaching and creating, being the arts, which definitely is a Sagittarian thing. And he built during his peak periods. He created. And let's see, yeah, and most of his work came during that peak period in Saturn. It said Saturn was the so-called, most malefic in this chart, but when we look and it's got the 2, malefic planets, trining, making it harmonious, he put that negative, that so-called negative lower energy into something more harmonic, something more valuable, and, put into his work and what he did. So he took, what he saw in his mind, his wisdom in his mind, and carved it into stone, which once again is Saturn. And the 7th, sharing, in his interpersonal style, taking upon the contracts to go move. And we see that his father had looked to be supporting, he had his mother transition at a young age. So all that just built into what he did. And I mean, just from the Zodiacal alone, we see, and through your, testimonies as well, how all that lined up from his moon to his sun to his rising to, his Neptune and his Uranus, how all that, coincides with just the spirit. And we didn't even go into the fortune or anything else. Let's see if we can find anything about.
I saw.
Let's look for some quote unquote tea on him for his love life tea.
Yeah, tea. That's wild. Look like the Renaissance tea, if that's what it is. We're bringing you Renaissance tea right now.
Let's see. Michelangelo was abstemious.
That's a very straightforward title. I guess personal habits.
So
I thought he wrote it in the. I think you read something about his nose being hit, and I saw Chiron.
Yeah.
That could be like injury to nose, since like that would be a threat though.
All right, so abstemious. So abstemious going. Y'all can't see it. Actually, let me see if it'll let me screen share. Actually, hold on. So I'm a new share coming to my cable. It's like the weird. Anyways, abstemious adjective: sparing or moderate in eating or drinking. See, 1600 from Latin, abstemious, sober, temperate, abstaining from wine. So pretty much just abstain. I took my screenshot away. So let's go back to shift up. Let's get back to, his biography. So let's get back down. So, he was pretty much, lived a clean, sober life. And once told his apprentice, Ascanio Condivi, however rich I may have been, I have always lived like a poor man. Michelangelo bank accounts and numerous deeds of purchase show that his net worth was about 50,000 gold ducats, more than many princes and dukes of his time. Condivi said he was indifferent to food.
Time out. My man was worth 50,000 ducats. That's what that is. That's where people get the word ducats from.
Ducats.
He was worth, I think, 50,000 gold ducats. If y'all was to look up 50,000 gold ducats and the valuation of that now, I don't. What are they saying? They trying to say he didn't have no bread.
That's what they're trying to plan.
No, he said he lived his life like, yeah, I'm paid, but I act like I'm broke, type kind of.
Oh, okay, that's kind of what that sounds more like it. All right, I yield.
He be like, man, Michelangelo, you broke. He be like, bro, I got over 50,000 gold ducats on y'all. Don't even make me pull it out. Don't try the humbleness. Pretty much what he was doing. And let's see. So Condivi said he was indifferent to food and drink, eating more out of necessity than of pleasure. Wow. No overindulgence. So in reference back to your Uranus and Libra, sidereal, once again, finding a balance in his thoughts. And, with the radical thoughts and change, it's all right. I'm going to eat, just when I need to, but not out of overindulgence. So once again, there's your testimony for that. Coming back into the point.
Jupiter there as well, because Jupiter is optimism and expansion and not moderation. So that Uranus and Libra kind of like leveled that out to where he has an expansion to where he can, with 50 gold nuggets, he can line up how much food he wants. So that's the Jupiter, But then the balance come in with the Uranus and Libra. Says, okay, cool, which is radical. Did you just eat bread today? Like, yeah, that's all I need. Like, I don't need much else. And that's like radical in itself to know that you only need certain things to like survive, because everyone else will look at you crazy if you only not even eating at certain points. But
yeah, bro, we got this whole table of food, and all you want is a couple slices. Yeah, I don't want to overindulge.
Yeah,
I don't want to.
You look so like Uranus, just like it doesn't it orbit on its side? That's how you look, just like totally out of pocket when you're doing the opposite of what everybody else does. So
look at this. Condivi said he was indifferent to food and drink. Well, let's see. Eating more necessity than pleasure, and that he often slept in his clothes and boots. His biographer, Paolo Giovio, says his nature was so rough and uncouth that his domestic habits were incredibly squalid and deprived posterity. I'm sorry?
Uncouth.
His nature was so rough and uncouth that his domestic habits were incredibly squalid and deprived posterity of any pupils who might have followed him. This, however, may not have affected him, as he was by nature a solitary and melancholy person, bizarro,
solitary and melancholy.
solitary and
So he hated
melancholy.
himself, and he always seemed like he had a natural resting bitch face. I'm saying that comedically. I don't mean it like that's how I really think, but he just seemed like a Debbie Downer that stayed to himself. That's what they're saying in that statement. I yield.
Very much Islam. All right, so let's
It's in retrograde in 11th house. Like within the group, he's like, all of his ideas are just inside, and he portrays them when he does art. You wouldn't know how he feels unless he like does an art piece or something. Because all his like thoughts are like.
It's a very good observation, Brother Benjamin.
Not thinking about that. Thanks, bro. For him being like to himself in solitary, so you got to be amongst people to do what he does. So he was inside of institutions, basically being like to himself. So yeah, let's go work. I'm gonna just go back home and sleep and get up and work again. Don't talk to me. But not no hating on you. This is how I do my. This is how I like live. But that could look like I hate the world and people kind of do it.
He's an obvious polymath, geometrician, and metaphysician, so to speak, because he's taking on the same monk quality, so to speak, as people do that kind of do those things like that are really into sacred geometry and stuff like that. They begin to, kind of take those steps that he's taking as it's being described. However, this is, we're taking it with a grain of salt, Wikipedia, it is what it is. We can discern, from other studies also what it is. I yield the floor, Islam.
Okay. So yeah, relationships and poetry. So it is impossible to know for certain whether Michaelangelo had physical relationships. Condivi ascribed to him a quote unquote monk-like chastity. Speculation about his sexuality is rooted in his poetry. He wrote over 300 sonnets and madrigals. The longest sequence displaying deep romantic feeling was written to the young Roman patrician Tommaso de Calivri. Let's see, who was 23 years old when Michaelangelo first met him in 1532 at the age of 57.
Tommaso de Cavalieri.
Tommaso. Man, I watched that Astrology Street, but brother Senior Jackson. I'm like, yo, that's pretty fire right here. That's a man. So, the Pisces episode, man, it got me like, man, I'm ready to learn what they call Spanish, which is really Moorish Latin. But all right, let's get back into that. So the Florentine Benedetto Vracci, 15 years later, described Cavalieri as of incurable beauty. Right, so really not too much on that, just a bunch of poems. So he pretty much did that monk life, kind of kept to himself. Let's see. I got 16 Chapel here, so yeah, all during that peak. Let's say, Brother Benjamin. Let's see. So he did the Trinity, we did Sec, we did Zodiacal Releasing. Then man, what's my purpose? And then let's see, it's Manifest the 6th. What's today? The 7th. Let's see. Yeah, so he had a solo return yesterday.
He over there with CM Bay. Why how what they did was like in the same field almost, like Piscean-ish. You saw the script like Virgin Mary, and CM Bay speaks on Virgin Mary, but in a different, aspect, as an astrological aspect. It's more like Neptunian delusion aspect, whether, intentional or not, but, it's a reason why CM Bay explained it the way he did, and the reason why Michaelangelo, put it in the way he did with sculptures, Then those sculptures with a degree of something else. Yeah. I don't know why to see
Indeed, yeah. Yeah, Saturn opposing reflecting his part of fortune.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely when it
And with
like
Capricorn, not to detect the wisdom, with Capricorn ruling the first house, it's probably why he on his body like that, because he had to be, in some type of bit to do that stone stuff. So Capricorn being right there just kind of helped him with his body, being having the endurance to even do all that stuff, having life-size sculptures and constantly doing that every day. Like if he didn't barely eat and he's doing sculptures, like where's he getting this energy from? He has to know more than what he's telling people to like do sculptures like that with zero to no nutrition from like earthly thing, as they say. As far as like he didn't eat anything, it was like, how are you creating this and not eating? So definitely.
and Saturn is his chart ruler.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So an example of how you can take the lows and the energies that could be and transmute those into the other side of that presents itself for the good.
Yeah, and I bet like if he ever got angry, he could just take that out on the stone. You know what I'm saying? As far as like a workout or like just getting that physical frustration out.
Right, like somebody do something he don't like, instead of just writing them, just send him a sculpture or something.
Yeah, he was like, he'll just chisel very aggressively.
Like, this is about to be the best disc sculpture ever, boy. You ain't even know not to come with me again. Then I'm gonna send a painting to your old lady, let her know.
You send him to send a painting to your old lady. Wow, I wondered that was like the player move then.
That's what they did, send paintings and poems back in the day.
They probably like
in those times. Sending paintings and poems endorsed.
That's probably what
by your one and only.
What with Michaelangelo and Leonardo, you just send a picture to each other's girl that you paint. That was the beef, Oh, he painted that. Put this out. Yeah, that is wrong. And that would like go with like his like long facial structure. It was very like bony type deal, very Saturn, and Saturn is like looking like right across from him. So it's like the sun being next to Mars, like I said, that's with the tools and the ego wants to use the.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's got his sun reflect Pluto the 9th.
Yeah, isn't that that's a full Pluto, like a full moon, like a full Pluto in Virgo.
A full moon's coming up. No, a new moon's coming up. Pardon me. Actually, later that. Let's see. Yeah, later on that day it'll be a new moon. My bad, because full moons are reflections.
Yeah.
And then we got his Chiron, his wounded healer, and the second. So
yeah, that's what I was saying. He got hit in the face, but that's like the throat area though, like Taurus. But it is closer to the third house would be Gemini. But when he got hit in the face with that hammer when you were reading and like hit his nose, I don't know if you remember. And I was thinking about Chiron, but Chiron is conjunct Mercury. So I'm not sure. He was within the group and he got hit in the head or in the face by somebody else. So that's what I was thinking. When the dude hit him in
the head. Indeed. Let's see. So releasing works.
Hold on.
I'm telling you, I am Warhol. I am the number one most impactful artist of our generation. I am Shakespeare in the flesh. Walt Disney, Nike, Google. Now, who's going to be the Medici family and stand up and let me create more? Or do you want to march? I'm standing up and I'm telling you, I am Warhol.
I'm posting that to TikTok as we speak.
Hey, when we're done with the live, make sure you cut the clip. I want to hear when you said that, either me, you, or Brother Benjamin, when you mentioned that reference, and then put those clips together.
Hey, yo,
I've had to do a couple of them because what I'm doing right now is just like I'm using it as like the voiceover instead of music. I'm using that as the sound for the video that I took while we was just live. So it's not even 30 seconds long. It's real short, bro. So what I'll do is we'll work on it together in post prod because we can have some fun with it. Seriously, all right. All right.
Thing about Lady Gaga, he was like, I ain't never seen about no cameras, but they didn't say it. I thought that's what that was doing. But I was like, God, that's funny as hell. But he was like, Lady Gaga was like endorsing cameras or something, but he said he's never seen her use one or something like that. I thought that's what that video was gonna say. I was like, oh, I love that video.
And he also had that video too. Shout out to Brother Kush. I seen he posted it and where he was talking about like Moors and Harriet Tubman and all that. So I had to go back and he was on that Joe Rogan show, but I got that clip. So actually they had the brother we got a couple clips. I mean, people give out game. People give out game, man, if you're listening.
And I was like, I didn't know Maleficent. I seen it on TV, whatever. I didn't know it was Kanye like said. I was like, Maleficent more than I seen on TV. I'm like, that what Kanye was talking about? That's Angelina Jolie. But then I went to do like the research. I was like, oh wow. And that explains the movie and all that stuff. Like, dang, but he definitely knows, like, that's why. You really listen to him now? Yeah. He's like the Michaelangelo of this time. If you think about it, if you use him in the correct way, things of that nature.
Yeah, when it comes to the arts,
Yeah.
Some people might not see music as the way art, literature and rhetoric and everything else was set up. For those that know, they can see the the beauty in it.
It's like music is a numeric code within itself. Think about it. Kind of like the Jesus walks kind of deal. You think about those things, like, there's something on there.
I know, man. The thing, like, watching that, coming up as a shorty, what I'm saying, coming up watching it, and like now you studying, now you see what Jesus really mean. You're like, oh.
Yeah, and that's when I was reading like the Virgin Mary, and I'm like, if people had an encyclopedia a Bible, a metaphysical Bible, I'm reading up on Michelangelo's biography, you definitely learn a lot. Like they put a lot in there. Like, man, that's why I brought up seeing Bay, because like they're basically talking about the same thing, different aspects of it.
Yeah, like different parallels.
Yeah, like all that stuff. Virgin Mary, like I said again. The depiction of Jesus and the crucifix, these type of things. Definitely metaphysical Bible for sure. Definitely, especially in the age of Noah.
Hey, so yeah, I say, Brother Benjamin, getting a little hungry. I think I don't got too much because we can definitely go more in and we can even aspect, I think
I was
that's
looking at midpoints and all that stuff, and like solar arcs and just the other parts of the protocol. And I don't like do this, but it's beautiful to see. Like even with like I'm not gonna say the basic part of the protocol, but this is Trinity. It's the Zodiacal releasing the sect. You can see how those things can explain, what the cosmos written down and what happens in people's real lives. So before we went over his biography, we basically went over his biography astrologically. You know what I'm saying? We like start reading it. This is why this was this, or this aspect, this was this, and kind of reverse engineering almost. Instead of reading the bio and going backwards. So
it's like reading a book and then going to watch the movie of that book, because how sometimes parts are taken out. So we just giving a full part to it, the actuality, then we get to the movie, it's like, oh man, they didn't water it down from the book.
Right.
It's autobiography. The book say it, the stars say this.
Yeah, a whole Neptune in 10th and 11th house, type of thing. Whether they start like talking like that, like type thing. They left that whole 11th house out. Yeah, a whole little gaming of the group type deal there.
Let's see, it's 10th as in Libra. So
and I don't think it was brought up as draconic, because I think that was one of them. But at the time, maybe. see how the draconic lined up with the natal geocentric chart.
And yeah, definitely. He went with the flow of his lifetime, that Saturn chart.
I want to say his rising with Gemini would be the opposite of his geocentric with Sagittarius. So whatever information he had stored or gathered up, he definitely expressed it in Sagittarius and took it around the world.
Yeah, because his tropical and sidereal rising was Sagittarius. So if we just wanted to, all right, let's go look real quick. Wanted to go, pull up his draconic. So yeah, what'd you say about Gemini? What'd you say?
Yeah, right here, yeah. And then obviously he's gathering that information so he can, chisel himself away.
Yeah,
so
Mercury
is what? And Mercury is between
it's in Leo.
Chiron and the moon, and it's in Leo. So front stage, and his heart was front stage.
Yeah, definitely his soul would heal from painting and putting things with his emotions. So now that Mercury being the mediator in the sect chart, communicates that. And, he shines in his own way now. What he does, he shines in his sculptures and his pictures. And with the sun being the, soul awareness, it's to be organized with that sun being in Virgo. It's to be organized and to be of service. And then,
and he was a service to others, as in like those sculptures, that was for like cities and quote unquote countries at that time. So, those Hercules and those things represented a whole era of people. So those weren't just, overnight things he was doing. So when he did that service, it was for generations, type deal. And Pluto's there dealing with like generations or things lasting a long time. So the death and transformation of things that are going to last a while.
And then his guru Jupiter in the second house in Cancer, so he's going to teach his pupils. And Jupiter's exalted, if I'm correct, in Cancer.
Yeah, that could have been his
soul is exalted. His soul self-teaching is exalted in his second house of his values. So long as he honored his soul values coming from his core, it will definitely expand, and he will teach different, foundations for that to lay that out with. And then his, his draconic chart is ruled by Jupiter. So let's see, is anything aspecting? It's like his south node is right, going to be right on his IC, what they say, inner coli, the fourth house. His south node is right there. Now let's see what else we got. So now his look at his Saturn now in Capricorn at home in the 7th.
Saturn on steroids, but he gets steroids. I don't know if steroids are good. It's very comfortable there in Capricorn. I'll say that. So that's probably why he was, so good at building structure and relating, or having strong relationships. Because the relationships he had were not with people that were not of name, like the Medicis. Like that's a strong relationship for him. Yeah. And to build and have it restructure things. So,
yeah, and with that Mercury, man, just how he's looking within, how he really communicate, he's going to do it through shining, by putting his pain and emotions into it.
Yeah.
And showing what he truly values.
The passion and values. That's why he's probably so just like sleeping and waking up, just chilling in a way. Because that's where his passion was. His passion was in value that. And so it's like that. It's like hurt, yeah.
And then going back to, how he was talking about beauty and balance earlier, with that Uranus being in his sidereal Libra. Now look at his draconic Venus being in Libra. It's at home, and the fourth house at home, and and it's balance. It's bringing his soul wants balance. His soul is going to see the beauty and art strongly in whatever position he does, and it's going to have that home vibe and foundation to it.
Yep, and that's Taurus there in Neptune. So seeing the beauty within the career and group. And changing that. It's like electric beauty, essentially just like futuristic beauty and values. But you can't see it, you don't understand it. Like, man, that's really tight, but I don't know what it is. Type deal.
And then just that Leo moon that was extremely important as well, conjunctions.
Oh yeah.
Along with that proper support, and doing what needs to be done, man, he's gonna shine, and he's gonna make others want to shine, and it's gonna come off in that exalted Jupiter expensive energy from his soul.
And his Mars being in Virgo right there, so he wanted to definitely get down into it. He's constantly working on his work, putting stuff out. That's like the Tupac, and then right there, putting that work out to the media or whomever wanted to call. He was traveling places, organizing things, wanted to service somebody. Like, even if I just have to wake up and chisel at the ground just to keep my practices sharp, just in case I get a phone call. That's what I get with the Mars and Virgo right there.
Yeah, I get that too. Yeah, like you gotta keep himself busy,
Yeah, probably communicated a good bit too, or very talkative or somewhere, but definitely organizing something with his hands or media or something like that. I wanted to. And 3 and 9, yeah. It's like it's destined to be an artist.
Definitely. So then if we even came in,
especially with the Uranus and Libra sidereal, that's what that. Yeah, that. His North Node is in Libra.
And the 9th.
And if you want to think about it, bringing justice, and you painted Jesus, and Jesus is justice, so he was metaphysically, given the quote unquote, of the higher learning. Your North Node is what you're, going towards and bringing that balance. So he probably didn't know what he was doing, but that justice of those pictures he was painting were bringing that, equilibrium of that librarian or Libra, essence of balancing things out and bringing justice.
Yeah, and then 3060, yeah, Venus and Mercury's in that sextile, so definitely an opportunity to grow, with that sextile to communicate how he sees his values and beauty.
He organized it there in the Draconic, and now he's in the institution actually doing it now. He's organizing and getting it together, and now it's like, okay, cool. We're in the neighborhood, or because would that be the third house? That would be like your local areas, and that's where he was. When he go to Florence, he was in Florence for a while. So around there, learning, and that's what he said. The best thing I could have is to be with whomever the woman he was with, not as a consort, but a teacher or something like that. He wanted to be with her. He was like, that's the best thing. I can sit out here and chisel and just live life. I don't really need the other stuff. That'd be the sun in Pisces, just dreaming, just I'm just roll with life kind of deal. I'm just go with the flow. How life happens is how life comes to me kind of deal. Which is, you could do that. It's always great to have a plan. What you plan for. That's a very Sagittarius Saturn reflection kind of face, huh? Definitely. Very elongated face.
Let me take me out of that.
Like crimson chin almost kind of deal. Yo, Jupiter in the second house expands the neck area. There we go. That's probably what it happens. Right?
So like Michael's death, the rebuttal, early life and works. Yeah, late 13, he was started apprentice, and his father had occasional government jobs.
Oh, wow, the son is like government. Yeah, the son in the media.
He's like, yeah, Pop's plugged in, man. He about to get me on with Dementio Gerlandio, you know what I'm saying, for 3-year terms, and I'm gonna get paid for it. And I'm only 14 years young.
Well, he was paid at 14, or he should have been.
That's what Wikipedia was talking about. It was like he about 13 or 14 when he got that and was getting paid, and it's like for that age. So yeah. And just starting that early peak period in that Capricorn first house. I mean, the level 1 on Capricorn.
And everything was like in Lodio as well, right? Because I don't think there was like taxes and all that, so he just got all that, right? Like up to 1913, that's when like that whole deal happened. Everybody owned all their stuff. So at 14, he was just all money in. No middleman. Until later in the 30s.
Days 222. Let's see. I think we went through, definitely probably we could go so much deeper into, like, we could look at all the different Zodiacal releasing charts to see, for all of that, but I am let's see, satisfied with what we did, and what we covered. I don't think I have anything else. Brother Benjamin, you got anything else?
Oh no, bro, it was beautiful. It was just beautiful to see the manifestation of it all. It really was.
And just peaceful greetings. Thankful to everyone. We kind of got started off. Was trying to do something on the fly, and for the moment, we thought we had. I'm like, oh yeah, we about to be there, but so I think I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna call you as well, Brother Hasan, after we're done with the live. And man, because it's just something was strange, but yeah, thank you all. Thank you to everyone who tuned in, who will watch. Whenever they get the time to watch it, though, for those who will see this in the future, we thank you all. Go to sevenhillstar.com, subscribe, go to the YouTube, go to our Instagram, and just share, comment, and share your experience. Or if something happens to you, share that, or just share us for someone that might like it and might be interested and could help. As freedom is everybody's job. So as we lift ourselves up, pour into ourselves, we pour into others, creating that butterfly effect. But all right, so on that note, peace and love. Namaste. Y'all enjoy the rest of your day, your Intuition Monday, and we'll be back for Wednesday for the 7-day Astro Weather Report. So make sure you come back into that, and make sure you check out the past Friday impromptu improv with brothers Hakeem Bey and Amazite Bey. Definitely check that out as well. And if that energy, that video gravitates towards you, that's definitely for your energy and for your mind.
So it sounds just like it sounds in the video. Not to say like that, but like, you ever seen Brother Hakeem videos? The whole like just the New York feel of it. It's like it's definitely authentic. Like, to hear it like in physical form like that, it's definitely worth to watch. Like,
storytelling too.
Yeah, it's like you're there. It's wow. It's really like, yeah, because he's like,
it is, what I'm saying? I'm like, man, I'd be thinking like, where's this Mercury? Like, it makes me think of like, it's like a Sagittarius, like a Sagittarius, or if I gave it a fire, it'd be Sagittarius. If I gave it a water, it'd be Cancer. If I gave that and then if, let's see, maybe a Earth, if he would have
nurture water, have that the sunny.
But but I just want to say,
thank you for Seven Hills stuff and bringing that to the forefront and having it here. Because think about it, when nobody like go type in, those brothers or anything like that. We're on constantly, so they're bound to see that, and just to have that type of authenticity in those stories, in this time frame to add to your arsenal. Big up to that too. That's what I was saying. Just having a platform for brothers to express that have already been here. That's what I was saying. It's kind of like drink champs for Moors. But without the drink, we just have astrology, and pure hearts here. It's like, hey, share what you've been through. We want to know. We've had experiences here, and the brothers, whomever it be, brother or sister, get to express that here, and we get people give them their flowers and acknowledge like we're on our pursuit in the movement, but it's like the baton passing, like a marathon type deal. We still kind of reach back and just keep that inspiration, like we stand on the shoulders of like others, and then someone will stand on our shoulders and vice, so on and so forth. But I yield on that, bro.
Yeah, and just I think just to go listen to what he was saying and actually do how we did. You don't have to do astrology, but just go back and look at events. You'll start to see things unfold, and you'll be like, "Hold on, dude, what? That and that?" You'll start to add things, and things start to come full circle. But yeah, on that note, we are out. Peace and love. Thank you all, and we shall see y'all Wednesday. Peace and love.